get started. My name is Harvey Williams, and my wife and I are the co-founders of this distillery. And it's a family business, so it's my wife and I and our two sons and our daughter. Our daughter joined about 2 months ago, so she takes all the customer service calls. And so if you called about a tour or called about anything, then she would have been the one picking up the call. We'll go back to the back and I'll kind of walk you through the process, but the story starts about 20 miles from here at the farm. And I don't know if you guys noticed over on that table, in the front there's a table. It's got a few things on it that's pretty significant. One, it's got a picture of my granddad on that table, that black and white picture you saw. And then the other thing is that jug that's sitting there with that cotton stuck in it. So those are significant because my granddad bought the farm. Well, let me back up one generation before that. My great granddad started farming that land out there. And you know, as a sharecropper, you farm in that land with the hope and aspiration that you're gonna one day own your land and own your farm. Well, that didn't happen for my great grandfather, but his son, my granddad, started farming it too and started sharecropping it. But in 1949, he was able to buy the farm.
Oh, okay.
So the significance of the cotton in that jug is, you know, the way sharecropping works, you pick your cotton, and part of that cotton belongs to the landowner. The other part belongs to you to try to raise your family, help pay off the debt, and then mostly shop at the company store, which is generally owned by the landowner too. My granddad that year in 49, I'll tell you what he did. He went to the landowner at the beginning of the year, and my dad tells me that the clerk gave him a ticket that says, here's how much you owe left on the land. He wanted to know how much he owed on the land. So he got that ticket, and he said that they didn't shop at the company store that year. They picked their cotton just like you would any other year, but he took his cotton to a different buyer than his landowner's gin. And the purpose for that was to get what the cotton was worth, like getting market value for the cotton versus what he's going to give you for the cotton. And then he took the money that he was earning on the side and added it to that and bought the farm.
Oh, okay.
That jug is one of his moonshine jugs.
Oh,
So
okay.
when we were actually, we were doing construction of this building, and my dad came in with that jug and said, hey, your granddad used to do moonshine. And this is the only evidence that we have left. He said the steel, part of that steel was in the pasture. He said, but I think it got sold off for scrap metal or something. But that's the only evidence we got left of my granddad doing moonshine. And okay, the other amazing thing is, I just heard this story myself like less than 5 years ago. My dad told us that when we were doing this building. And you know, naturally you're gonna ask your pops like, why don't we know? Why didn't you say anything about it? And he said, well, it just never came up, was the way he said it. But I just think they didn't talk about everything. Some stuff you just didn't talk about. Right. But now everybody in the family know about it.
Okay.
We all know about it now. And we know more too, because I called my aunt, his sister, and said, hey, what's this about Daddy D doing moonshine? And she said, your daddy told you that? I said, yeah, he did. And she said, yeah, that happened in 49. He said, but I know that your granddad had made a pact either with himself or with God, because we had hard times after 49. And you know, he quit moonshining after he bought the farm. And I thought, okay, there was a means to the end, or end to the means, that he was doing that moonshine for a purpose. So that's how the farm got started. My dad started farming after my granddad, and it was a matter of survival for most farmers, and not just black farmers, but most farmers in the early 80s, you either had to get big enough to sustain or get out of farming. And my dad chose to diversify. He went into vegetables, which is how we ended up in the sweet potato business. But we started out with okra, purple hull peas, sweet potatoes, and then eventually his major crop was squash, yellow squash and zucchini squash. Now, he wasn't just doing a few rows in the backyard. My dad went like crazy. He was like, he had gotten up to like 80 acres of squash. And that might not sound like a lot of squash, it may be more than that, but that's a lot of squash, because you're picking that stuff every other day, same way with okra. That stuff has to be picked all summer long, and you don't have machines that's going out there and just harvesting like a combine. So that's kind of how that turned out. And he ended up, because he said, well, he believed that he could make a living on small acres doing vegetables versus the row crop of cotton and corn and soybeans. And soybeans had started getting popular at that time too. So that's how we end up in the vegetable business. Now I will tell you this, I moved away. The Great Migration is real because it lasted into my generation. Guess what we do when we get out of high school? We heading out. We're going to stay with some relative that's already moved up north. We're going to college or we're going to the military. And I chose to go to college, and we were gone for like 25 years. And one of my brothers stayed back and he had a job full time, but he helped my dad farm.
Okay.
And I always wanted to come back, so don't get me wrong, I did want to come back. I just took the long route home. I took 25 years later to get back home. And I wanted to have my own business. And I wanted to be tied to our farm. But truthfully, I didn't necessarily want to do traditional farming like that, just driving tractors like that. But when the whole idea of this distillery came about, came from my baby brother. Him and my dad had gone to these vegetable conference, and they would go every year, every couple of years, just to keep up what's going on in the industry. And they came back this year, and my baby brother already was kind of excited to do. He came back, man, he was all excited about what they were doing with sweet potatoes in North Carolina. And he said, man, they were making everything out of sweet potatoes, like sweet potato tots, like tater tots and pies and turnovers and everything you could think of. And then he said this guy had some sweet potato vodka at one of the booths. And that just stuck with me. I could not shake it. That was the mustard seed that got landed for me. And I'm thinking, we should do that. And he's like, it was all right. But he was all on the sweet potato pie. And you guys may remember, Patti LaBelle came out with the sweet potato pie back then too. Sweet potato was having his moment. And I just couldn't shake this whole idea. So I started researching, trying to figure out whether we can do sweet potatoes, a sweet potato vodka. And I visited every distillery that would let me in the door and asked a whole bunch of dumb questions, I'm sure. But I figured it out. We got a little R&D still and started cooking in my wife's kitchen, my mom's kitchen, trying to figure out this recipe. And we got it figured out.
Okay.
So now we're going to walk through the process.
All right.
All right.
This is cool.
We wanted to let him live on through this bottle. So he bought the farm in 1949. And I think it took resilience and ingenuity for that to happen. This is my granddad's story told in a paragraph. The one I just told you guys earlier, how he bought the farm. This is his signature, which he left in his will. And black people, y'all leave wills.
Yes.
So the marketing firm was able to lift his signature off his will document and put it on this label. And underneath it says first generation landowner.
Wow.
This is Arkansas Brown. I can't call it a bourbon whiskey because I have an ingredient in here other than grain. So they said you got to give it its own name. So I can't. I'm not trying to be Kentucky bourbon. Well, y'all in Tennessee, they make songs about y'all stuff. Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
So we came up with our own category, Arkansas Brown. So when I say brown, this is Arkansas. I'm fine with the Tennessee whiskey boys. I'm fine with Kentucky. I want them to be okay with some Arkansas Brown.
Okay.
Back to my granddad. My granddad was born December 2nd, 1906. See the proof on that? 106. All right. Got the mash right on front, the corn, sweet potatoes, rye, barley. And then if you drink this down low enough and slow enough, you'll see my granddad's portrait in the back of that.
Okay, so how often do y'all make this?
This is batch number 2. The one that's up there is batch number 4. We've only had 4 batch releases of this. And we'll release another one, batch 5, in August or September of this year.
You are so
August
good.
what?
Like,
I don't know. She want to know.
Because I need to make sure before I